Next In.
Welcome to Next In. We have another episode with another Nashville tech leader. Charlie Yielding is here with us, so I'm excited to introduce Charlie. It's just me today. Shane has been voted off the island, so no, Shane's on vacation, not working in Arizona, and so it's just Charlie and I. So today will actually be a fun episode, and you don't have to listen to Shane. So thank you, Charlie, for joining us here from Nashville. I know we made you leave the 77 degrees and sunny weather to come inside and record this. So
I'm standing next to a window, so it's okay.
Oh, well, at least you have a window view. I don't. Well, I get a little window. So Charlie, thanks for joining us. We'll just start. Tell the listeners what you are up to and what you do. Give a little bit of a backstory and current situation as to where you're at. I know you're CEO of G Squared,
Sure.
but I'll let you announce it all.
So the down and dirty is my name is Charlie Yielding. I'm the CEO of G Squared Wireless. And I have to correct this every time I say it, but 13 years ago now, I was an entry-level employee at G Squared Wireless. And so over the past 13 years, I've worked myself up to where I'm at and helped to work the culture of G Squared into like a consistent experience like that. So everybody at G Squared starts at the bottom and works their way up. So our CEO, me, our COO, our president, all of our directors, everybody was an entry-level employee at some point.
Holy cow. So, where are you from?
Right outside of Tupelo, Mississippi, from a place called Manatee. It's in the woods.
That's a booming metropolis, huh? So what brought you up here to Nashville?
So my wife and I both went to undergrad at Mississippi State, and then she got her law degree from Ole Miss. And while she was in law school, I was working and keeping up the house and whatnot. And so preparing myself essentially to be a stay-at-home, like taking care of man. And so I was ready for that. And then when she got out of law school, we just moved to Tennessee because that's the first place where somebody got a job, and that somebody was me. And I was selling loans, like refi loans. And I don't know if you've ever done that before, but that's not fun. Total bro culture. It's like to the max. And so that's one of the only jobs I've ever just straight up quit. Left that job, and I was unemployed up here for like a month, and then found the job for where I'm at right now off of Craigslist to be a help desk agent.
So you found your job off of Craigslist, which Craigslist has not really changed in 13 years. And I believe it's run by, I think it's a huge tech company, and it's run by like 40 people. It's not a big company, and it's worth, I don't know, $1 billion, $2 billion, $3 billion, and it's run by like 50 people. And the UI hasn't changed. The UI hasn't changed in my life since it really, began.
As far as I know, they took off some material that needed to be restricted, but apart from that, like it is the same thing. You can't sell pets anymore, I guess, but they still get around it. Yeah, because I think there was too many puppy farms and stuff like that. Either way.
There were other things you could sell on Craigslist.
Yeah.
That you probably
I think some of that's still around too.
All right. Well, not so much the dark web, but on Craigslist.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about G Squared Wireless. So we know you're the CEO. Got your start in Mississippi. Moved up here. So real fast, actually, I forgot to ask: Mississippi State or Ole Miss? You're a Mississippi State fan, but your wife has a law degree from.
So we both went to undergrad at Mississippi State.
And
then we went to Ole Miss. So like my time in Oxford was transient. Like it was okay. It was never meant to be long term. And she was the same way.
So you're a big Starkville. Is it Starksville?
It's Starkville, yeah.
You're a big Starkville. So are you a big college baseball fan?
No.
Crazy down here. There's a big college baseball contingent that you just don't experience up north.
Well, to be fair, I was 6 months ago, or I guess a year ago at this point. I was a huge baseball fan at that point. But that's our first national title in anything. So I was pretty excited about that. I definitely wore every day. I was wearing stuff. Like I've got 3 or 4 hats, a few T-shirts. You know how it goes. You go to and so I was definitely proud about that. But since my son's been born in 2011, like I just haven't had the time to keep up with sports. I will watch the NFL on YouTube because they do those 11-minute highlights that are amazing. But I just can't invest the time to watch games.
Yeah, I get it. All right, so tell me a little bit about G Squared Wireless. Tell everyone else, what is G Squared Wireless? I know it's based here, which is awesome.
Yeah. So when I was initially hired, I was brought on to be a help desk agent for enterprise mobility. So if a big old company gives their employees cell phones, and back then it was Blackberries, like 99% of everything was Blackberries, then they need somebody to help them set it up. They need somebody to, reset passwords. They need just like a PC help desk, but for cell phones. And there's a distinctly different set of knowledge that you have to have, and a distinctly different pace at which that knowledge changes. And so specialized in mobility is about being malleable. So anyways, we go back to the help desk stuff. There's 8 employees. Like we're just taking phone calls, helping people out, like setting up their best passwords, like I said earlier. Then the company starts to grow because there's a need for that type of specialized support. And so I got to be a part of that growth. One of the stories I like to tell is like when I first started, they gave me a laptop. And I took that laptop and was like, I can't deal with one screen. I got to have multiple screens. So I brought in my old 17-inch CRT that I just upgraded at home, plopped it on my desk, and then did the dual screen thing. I had my real estate set up perfectly. I could see everything. And I even was streaming a little kitty cam thing where they were doing, you know how adoption places will show kitties sometimes.
Yep.
So I was watching that. Had to turn it off though because it was taking up too much bandwidth. Because I think in 2009 we had like a 30 megabyte connection as a company taking phone calls. Or no, it was 100 megabytes.
That's changed a little bit.
Yeah, it was definitely different times. But like that the feedback I got off of that is what like pushed me to just like start raising my hand. I want more. Give me more. Give me whatever. And then at one point I asked for stuff and they're like, "Nah, you're not ready." But then they gave it to me anyways. And then I found myself completely and totally underwater, had to fix stuff. And at that same time, the company G Squared was building into doing more stuff as well. So instead of just doing the help desk, we were doing procurement. We were doing device logistics, which is physically setting the devices up for a user and sending it to them with a package that says,
Yep.
Here's everything. We did some pretty big projects through that. And all the while, like I'm focusing on building processes and maintaining processes, COO stuff. Like, I enjoy that way more than being a CEO, if I'm being perfectly honest. But it's, that's how I started to grow, started to realize that, like all it is effort and time. Mm-hmm. And so every time I hit a wall or was stressed out to the max, I'd learn something new, grow a little bit. And then that allowed me to grow the company as well in ways that were more beneficial.
So tell me, you said I enjoy COO more than CEO, if I'm being honest. That's what you said. All right. So give me what you see as the different. Every company is a little bit different. I operate as the COO, Shane's the CEO, but I think in a lot of ways we share duties, and I don't know if there's an extreme delineation between, I don't take this phone call and he doesn't do this activity. We both do a lot of everything, as we're going in this hyper growth mode. So what do you see as the differences between those two roles?
So specifically stress. Like for me, it was like the CEO role is pretty cut and dry. Like I make this, can I swear or no?
Sure.
Can I make this shit work? Yes, then I'm doing my job. CEO is like, well, what do I do here? Do I control the culture? Do I control like a top end network? Do I like what, you got to figure a lot of stuff out. In the beginning, it's like, I don't know what to put all the time into. So I put time into everything equally. And then that led to my first burnout, but it also led to my most stressful period of time, which you only get because you can't pass the buck. So, as a company, you say you're going to do one thing. And then when you say you're going to do that and you've got really good reasons to, you stick to it. And like all of us coming from the same place allows us to speak the same language too. And one of the things I told them when I took over CEO is like, I'm not going to throw the shit over the fence. Like we experienced that before where the CEO would buckle with, because we're all of us coming from where we come from. Like we're not all cut out to be CEOs.
Yeah. You're not all Wharton grads who, worked for Goldman Sachs for 4 years and then some consulting firm and were hired in as some hired gun. You started, like you said, help desk, right? Yeah. IT help desk person.
Yeah. And so you got to learn a specific set of skills, but more importantly, you got to learn them so well that when you put your foot down, you mean it. And when you put your foot down and you mean it, And then people start bucking and start pushing and start like all they want is what they want, and they don't give a shit what you want. That's the most stress I've ever been in my life. And I had my hair long, and this was like 9 months after I took over as CEO. I had my hair long, and I was so stressed that it started falling out. Like if I sat in one spot for more than 20 minutes, there would just be hair everywhere. Like I was physically losing my hair from stress.
Yeah, the stress
so
level. I mean, because and I used to say I used to run a pretty large corporation. There's no one to vent up to, right?
Yeah.
There's no one to say, hey, what about me? It was just everyone vented to you, and you had to deal with it. And it stopped at you, and you never got to say, hey, I want to complain about something. It's like, all right, and then you always had to project positivity and I love that. And I love that experience. And I enjoy doing, leadership now, but it comes with a stress level. And well, I don't lose my hair, but my hair used to be a lot darker.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. 5 kids ago too.
Well, yeah, I've only got 2. And so I can partially appreciate where you
you can 40% of the way appreciate what's going on.
Approximately.
Yeah. So I guess tell me, G Squared, I think it's really interesting how you handle, this is how I interpret it. We're some enterprise and we have tons of mobile devices. You guys make sure that they do the right stuff. They don't do the wrong stuff. They're all communicating properly. It's all managed, however you want to call it from an IT standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
How did that change? I'm assuming it changed because we're a recruiting agency and we have been, in the past, call it 18 months, we've had a significant amount of searches for us, places that we've filled where we've brought on VPs of IT, even almost CTOs, where essentially their whole point of what they were looking for is someone who took their workforce from being in office to remote, which changed everything, right? It was this idea of like, IT meant I have to make sure that my building can communicate amongst itself and it's all hardwired together to, we have 5,800 employees in 3 continents and no one shows up to the same location. And it all needs to be able to communicate software and whether it's G Suites or, all the other stuff that you have to do. So has that accelerated for G Squared? Is that something that you're seeing a lot as people going, hey, Charlie, G Squared, help us go remote, help us be more mobile?
Kind of. So with our customers, it's always been the same thing. Like the reason they have the devices is typically because they're not in the office. Like it's sales forces that are out and about and stuff like that. So from a clientele perspective, we did have a lot of issues with just companies just straight downsizing, cut and spend. And like, it's the same thing everybody else had to deal with during the pandemic. Like we had partners coming to us and asking us for 66% discounts just because, with no scope cuts at all. It was just like, no, we're not going to do that. And then everybody's like, all right, bye, see you later. We just had to ask.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing for us is like we maintained through the pandemic. Like we already had a pandemic plan in place. Like we were all in the office 100%. Well, not 100% because they got to work remote 1 day a week, but I digress. The main piece is that we went from 100% in to gone in 2 days. The pandemic started on a Wednesday and Friday we were out and we haven't been back. We're not going back. We do have 4 essential employees that do the touching of the devices and whatnot, but that's it. Our whole help desk is remote. And so during the pandemic, it felt bad. It felt isolated. You're getting used to a whole lot of new things. I sat in a big ass office by myself in the dark for a year and a half. Definitely was not good for my psyche. No. Definitely a lot of low points. A lot of times where it's just like, what is going on with everything? Because I just felt disconnected. I'm normally out there talking to people and all that kind of stuff. And just in the beginning, this wasn't connection to a lot of people, especially the people I roll with. They don't do web teams and stuff like that. They're in-person people.
Yep.
And so there's a big adjustment from that perspective. But then coming out of the pandemic, like the easiest analogy is like my industry was a fleet going into a hurricane. And coming out of it, in the middle of it, you don't know what's going on. But then coming out of it, like we're tilted or listing and whatnot, but we're still moving. And then you look out across the landscape and they're sinking all over the place with regards to what we do, because they can't hire and maintain employees. And I imagine you can guess why.
So why? Actually, I want to hear that more from you. It's like, because
They
you're
don't treat them
right.
well, and they don't pay
Okay,
them
so
well.
tell me about that culture, because for us, we feel the same way, and I'll be the first to admit we're not. I'm not perfect. We're not perfect. Next level makes mistakes. I probably piss off some of the people in the office, and I'm sorry for it. I do it. At least it comes from a good heart. I try to be, and I know Shane tries to be, and anyone who's leading in our office, we try to be 100% people first. I mean,
Mhm.
that's how we think. Team is family to us. It's one of our values. So we try our best to do, whether it's we take our group to the escape room, or like today it was such a nice day and it's been such a nice week. I'm like, guys, go work from home, just enjoy, sit outside on your porch, and if you're going to make calls or whatever you're doing, do it at home for the day, just so you can enjoy. We try to be really conscious of it.
Mhm.
At the same time, we have felt differently because of, we are all people who want to be around people. By and large, as a recruiting service, we are, we're on the phones, we're communicating with people, we're salespeople, right? A
Yeah.
sales first
Yep.
organization. So we're not engineers. So for us, being in person and collaborating together is important. But what have you done to weather that storm that a lot of people haven't, and they are bleeding people and so on, which frankly can be kind of good for our industry because it makes it easier for us to go find people.
That's true. Right now it's about finding the good people, though, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So to kind of go back to the story about where I was at G Squared growing and all that kind of stuff, like at one point we ran into the wall of like, how do we find good people? Because what we were finding is like when I started, we had to have a bachelor's degree and and mobile experience, either selling cell phones, working at a help desk, or whatever. And that was extremely limiting to the people we got in. And so some of the people we got, like we just didn't have access to high enough quality people. Uh, we still found amazing people, but it was usually through word of mouth.
Yep.
And so we made the conscious decision to train people up. Like our goal is to build people. That's it. Like the customer stuff is a secondary reaction to how we treat our people.
So
And
it's a tech business, but it's not. It's a people first business.
yes, yep.
Now that's how we think too. I guess we're a service, so we're not a product run tech business, but we are
Well,
in the tech space.
that differentiation is changing though. It used to be developers got all the money and they were sitting over there, support or support services or whatever were making razor thin margins and they're over there. And then like to your point, like then there's the companies like Craigslist. They got 50 people with hundreds of millions of dollars coming in, all that kind of stuff. And so there's a varying degree of like wealth, I will say.
Mm-hmm.
And so in my industry specifically, and in a lot of other industries as well that are development heavy, what you're finding is that like the good folks are getting snatched up if you don't treat them right. Paying them right is important because when Microsoft comes in with like a double your salary offer, like what are you going to do?
Yep.
You just like, I got it, like, bye.
Yep.
And that's understandable, but if you can pay competitively, and everybody's figuring out now that competitively is different if you want good employees versus run of the mill employees, and then you've got to make up what you lack in culture and in growth. And so one of the things we offer people that start at G Squared, and we tell them this in the interviews, is like, we're going to train you up on how to be a mobile expert in 16 weeks. Because back then, when we had that choke point, we built the training program that has turned into all we need to hire awesome people that are motivated to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And so we retain them. So we've got a mobile help desk that has an average tenure of 4.5 years, and an attrition rate that even in the pandemic is less than 20%.
That's awesome.
Normally it's 5%.
And for us, I know when we go recruit, we feel the same way that, yeah, you got to pay competitively. It doesn't, you can't pay your developer $150 if all your competitors are going to reach out to them and pay them 300. They're not in the same ballpark.
That's true.
But more importantly, when we bring in a new client, the most important thing for us that we want to know what truly is the heartbeat of the company. What makes your company special? Tell me about the hiring manager. Tell me about the growth path for most of these people that you're bringing on. Because when we talk to candidates, by and large, and I can give you really good examples. In fact, just yesterday, we placed someone and I can't use names, but we placed someone in a company for less than another offer at essentially the biggest name opportunity they could have gone to, and they turned that one down for less money because what they saw was an opportunity for growth, a team that they were going to be a part of that they were really excited about, a project that they were really excited about and loved. And that made more sense to them than, hey, do I get an extra, $300 a month or what, or, whatever, 600 or even $1,000 a month. Is that going to change my life? No, but a place where I can be really happy and grow and love the people and love the culture is far more important. I'd rather go work for Charlie at G Squared and make X dollars than make X times, 10% more and really not have something I enjoy, not have a project or a culture that I enjoy. That makes a big difference. So from your standpoint, you're going, look, it's less about we're here to train people, develop people, and care for people and show them that they're going to grow with us is more important than can I just pay them, 50 cents more an hour or whatever, that doesn't work. And I can appreciate that a ton. I think that's awesome. So was there any moment that made you go, we really, I know you said the pandemic, but you said it really started before there. What was the choke point where you're like, this has got to change. We need to build a culture more than we just need to hire people.
It was the access to employees that was the trigger. And so like our goal initially, like we took baby steps to get into it, but we kept on progressing forward because like I think it was 2014 or 15. We had a tier 1 client, which is an easier client to answer questions for because there's nothing like back end that they've got to answer. It's like, where's my phone? Okay, here it is, and that type of stuff. So we created a simple training program. We hired 2 people. They were our first non-mobile expert, no degree qualified employees. They did have degrees, but we stopped requiring those too.
So they were your guinea pigs. All right. So you had 2 guinea
basically. One of them worked her way up to a client manager, which is our first externally communicating position, and they get an additional training before they get that on how to actively communicate or use an active voice when communicating, how to write the detailed emails that instead of answering 10 questions, you get them all knocked out, like all that kind of stuff, how to stay like organized, what's your personal process, like, and then more specifically, what are your goals? You're growing now, you're in this, you're about to get stressed out. So what are you working towards? Because that's really going to help out. And so the other is our trainer now. She won an award last year because in 1 week, she virtualized all of her training. And so we went home on a Friday, and then so it was a week and a day, I guess. And then the following, or 2 Mondays after or whatever, our first remote employee was hired and came on fully trained remote, everything. And she got an award for that. But she's training mobile experts and came to G Squared with no mobile expertise.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So let's shift gears here a little bit. I know you've been pretty heavily involved in the Greater Nashville Tech Council. Last week, we got an opportunity to talk to Brian Moyer, who's the current president of it. And, he's on his way out. He has been over charge of it for, I think it's roughly 6 years, and has watched the growth of Nashville's tech scene absolutely boom. So what have you done to be involved in the Greater Nashville Tech Council?
Well, initially it started with a mentorship spot in the Elite program. So Elite is emerging leaders in technology. And so we take these hard skill set coders, programmers, data scientists, and stuff like that, and we train them up on the people stuff, on the soft skill sets. And so it's a mentor program. So there's a lot of practical application to like daily. Like we'll have a meeting. These go from like 7 a.m. till 10:30 every week for the participants, and then every other week for the mentors. And then it's like, after 12 weeks it's done or whatever. And in that, we'll go through managing up and then making sure that like they know how to deal with change management and all of the stuff that comes with like, these are how you walk people through these, and it's that sort of skill set that like it is desperately lacking in tech because there's not a whole lot of soft skill sets in tech. We'll say that. No. Yeah. So it's good to see a lot of this stuff change. And so that's where I started. And then, you talked about Brian. 3-4 years ago. I think maybe in after the first year of the cohort that I did, I met with him and I was just like, look, what's the goal here? What are you into as an organization, and is it legit? Because they said a lot of things that I was into, like, because I believe in teaching what you know. Like my daughter went to a Montessori school here called Nia House Montessori, and that is the best school culture I've ever come across in my entire life. All they are about is teaching what you know. And so they pass that along to me in a way that I feel it now. And so the NTC is a good conduit for that. And so I just started volunteering for stuff. And I think I do about everything I can. Like there's some specific technical roles that I can't fulfill, like if they need a data scientist or something like that. But anytime they need somebody who can explain technology to youngins, people looking to get into like workforce retraining, because there's a lot of the options for that nowadays. Like that's I show up for that stuff, and then the leadership training, because that leadership training in the elite program, it's two directions. Like I get just as much as I give, and so it's a good relationship.
Yeah, so same thing. That's what we're trying to get involved. What do we know? It's the same thing in many ways. It's the soft skills for the engineers. We want to do interview training for them, resume build. I mean, that's what we know, right? We know how to take someone who's got a great experience, maybe good LinkedIn profile, and you know what they've done, and then you see their resume and you're like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. This is horrible. And we can help them. We can help them frame it in a way so that a hiring manager and HR department can see it and go, wow, this person has done amazing stuff, has experience in Java and Spring or whatever it is that they've been working on, or, you know, their experience in UE4, help them build their ArtStation or whatever. And that's where we want to be able to give back, because teach what we know more than anything else. We don't know how to code, but we certainly know how to get people placed in awesome jobs. Like that's what we do. That's
cool. Well, if I ever need help with my resume, then I might reach out, because I'd hate to see what my resume looked like after not having to do one for 13 years.
No, well, it'll be in crayon. It'll be like entry level to CEO. Here you go. Yeah. So let's move into some just fun Nashville stuff, right? Just some fun stuff about you. So tell me, you're in Nashville. How long have you been here? 15 years roughly?
Right about. We moved up in 2008.
Okay. So, that's a fantastic time, right during the height of the crash. Mm-hmm. Did you hopefully buy real estate in 2008?
So we initially, when we moved to town, we did not. We were struggling when we first got to town. Like neither one of us come from well-to-do households. Like we were both taken care of and stuff like that, but it's just like money's not.
You didn't come with a lot of wealth.
So we were struggling that first bit, stayed in an apartment. And then in 2010, we had both kind of recently hit our stride from an income perspective. Mm-hmm. And the building that we were in an apartment in burned. Half of it did. Our stuff just got water damaged, but they condemned the building. We had to go find something. And so we bought a house in East Nashville in 2010.
And now it's worth
good on that.
50 times what you paid for it, probably?
Not quite, but somewhere around there. Yeah,
I mean, it's outrageous. So we just bought in August, and people are already saying it's gone up 25%. And it's just
I'm afraid, like the housing market, I feel like with all the investment firms, they are creating a bubble. But I do feel like Nashville has some sort of an immunity against that, because it's just like it's popping off. Like if all of the investment.
So many people are coming and no one's leaving, right? Mm-hmm. And no one, so it's created just your natural economics 101, which is supply is really low, demand's really high. And so it's just continuing to raise prices pretty much everywhere. But
yeah. And that's
sorry, go on.
Well, that's one of the good things about the pandemic is kept us all off the roads, because traffic was just getting worse and worse and worse every year.
I haven't experienced it because I moved during the pandemic. So for me, this is amazing traffic relative to Chicago. But
No, you know. Yeah. But we don't have any good public transit. Like our office is in Brentwood, and I hurt my eyes a few years ago, and I rode the bus from my office, which is there's a stop right next to it, to East Nashville, and it took 4.5 hours. I've got it saved as a story on my Instagram. Just because it was so ridiculous. Because that was around when the fast thing was getting shut down, because they wanted a train to go east to west, but you could change parts of town, and the answer to the whether they were pro or against changed specifically.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure. Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm not going to get into the city
No,
politics.
no, no, no.
I'll let them do that. All right. So what is your if you are recommending to me? I'm brand new. Well, brand new is a stretch, but I've been here for 16 months or whatever.
Sure.
What is your favorite spot to go grab food?
All right. So I've got two answers. One is the beer place, and that's here lately. I've been going to Craft Brewed over on 8th South by Zany's. I love that
Okay.
place.
Yep.
But my favorite food place is a place I don't actually go often anymore because I don't want to burn out on it and I want to eat it consistently the rest of my life. Is Bolton's Hot Chicken here in East Nashville. It's Lower East Nashville on Main, but that place is amazing. It's the best hot chicken out of all of them, if by flavor. You know, I've had Prince's, Hattie B's, like all the hot chicken. They don't overdo it, but it's hot. If you want it hot, they'll make it hot for you. So you can burn your face off, or you can just have like a good burn, medium.
That's what I like. I like hot, but I don't want it to ruin my next 3 days.
You'll beat up, but you're not snotting and all that kind of stuff. And so like you can do whatever you want. They'll even get to you plain. Just their regular fried chicken is amazing, and you can see them back there cooking it in the cast iron skillets and stuff like that. And then, but their greens, I don't know if you like greens at all. They have the best greens I've ever had in my entire life.
All right.
And so I like that place.
What about for an attraction, something to do here, not food related? What's your favorite thing to do? It's gonna be 75 and sunny tomorrow. What would be your favorite thing to do if you didn't have a bunch of kids' activities you had to go to? Where do you go?
I actually like walking around downtown. People watching here is really fun.
It depends on time of day. I don't know that I need to be at Broadway at 10 p.m. on a Saturday night, but
that's true. But if I were going to a specific section of town, because it's hard to say, like you can go to Pinewood Social, that's a cool bowling place with the bar and stuff like that. But I think the areas are a bit better. So 5th and Broadway is a brand new place. Yeah, that's that place is popping off. And then, you know, and it's in downtown. So if you wanted to scoot over to the Blues and Boogie bar that's in Printer's Alley, like in an actual alleyway, you could. And then, you know, you got options that people watching stuff because it does get crazy downtown. Like, and I like standing behind it and watching it go by and not necessarily being in it.
Yeah, but I think it's gonna get a little bit crazy here in a week or so. The SEC basketball championship is gonna be a big
it's always busy. I just don't go downtown when stuff like that's here.
Yeah,
it's just too many. It's too many people. We had the draft here.
We talked about it with Brian Moyer. He said everyone from here left.
Yeah, it was crazy. I actually had a show downtown when that was going on. So I was actually living in a hotel for the show, not going back home and whatnot because I didn't want to deal with driving in and out.
No. Are you a musician?
No, I show like an industry show, like a conference or whatever.
All right. So last question. You are going to be judged very heavily on it. We ask every person this. What's your favorite movie?
Forrest Gump.
What is it?
Forrest Gump.
Oh, Forrest Gump. Yeah. Oh, I saw that in the theaters. And I remember leaving and going, yep, that's my favorite of all time. It has since changed, but it's amazing.
I've thought about changing it a couple of times, but so far it's still up there.
It's got to be. I mean, if you were to do a top movies of all time, critics kind of, you know, whatever, it's got to be a top 25 movie of all time. Has to, like in almost every critic who's worth a damn has to label it as one of the top 25 of all time. It's a fantastic movie. Forrest Gump gives you a lot of American history as well. Kind of get to go through quite a few different stages all the way. All the way, and it finishes with the very beginning of technology, right? Where he gets the Apple stock, if you remember.
Yeah. So I actually teach a class before the pandemic. I taught a class here at the library. So I talk a lot of trash on non-tech boomers. And so to make up for that, I teach a class where I'll go through the history of technology. And you'd be surprised by how early some people are getting up to stuff. But that is where it all started with the
Apple II GS, the Commodore 64. I had a Commodore 64 growing up in my house.
Oh, did you?
With like the legit floppy disks where they were actually floppy.
Yeah. They were actually not the 3.5.
No, before the 3.5.
It's the big square with the big hole in the middle.
Yeah, it was like literally floppy. So All right. Well, Charlie, this was a ton of fun. How can
Well,
people get in touch with G Squared, or how can the community support you, or all the people listening who are like, man, G Squared just seems awesome. I'd love to work with them, support them, use them as a customer, because holy cow, we have mobile needs and we are a mess. How can people reach out to you?
Okay, so I'm on Twitter at Charlie Yielding, and that I'm trying to get better at that. I'm also on Instagram at Charlie Yielding, Facebook Charlie Yielding. The company's G Squared Wireless, where that handle and everything. And then, yeah, so if you want to work with G Squared, one of the things that we've been getting into is like if you're having problems with keeping operations together or qualifying the amount of work anybody's doing and stuff like that, like we've got processes set down to be able to manage that, and we also know how to remotely push culture because it's a more proactive endeavor than ever. And so if you ever want to know more, have a conversation, feel free to reach out. Like I would like to start a community around this where we get to talking about two of the most important things that I think people should know is that if you're good, you have choices. That's it. And if you're new to this whole remote work thing and you don't have a computer or anything like that, don't worry about it. Get the remote job. They will send you everything you need. So I say that you need internet connection that's consistent, and you need a quiet place sometimes. And then they'll give you everything else. So don't let remote work go because you don't think you got what it takes.
Yeah, I got 5 kids, so it's rarely quiet, but they're all at school right now, so it's quiet. Like I said, we're at home today. And once in a while, my Wi-Fi works. I get very frustrated because I'm not very good at getting my Wi-Fi to operate the way it's supposed to. But for everyone else who's got a sometime quiet place and a decent internet connection, you can work remote, and that's where you guys come in and you can help teach companies how to create this remote culture and stuff like that.
Yeah. And if you're an enterprise or even an SMB that needs help with mobile support, reach out, let us know. And that's beginning to end, from the procurement all the way to the reclamation, getting devices back. Because with all the shortages, it's really important to make sure you're getting your devices back and holding on to them just in case, because we don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of years from a supply chain perspective.
From a supply chain, absolutely right. Who knows? And for as much as like you said, people are requesting a 66% price cut on their service and then charging more for aluminum or whatever it is that they're. So, and who knows what's going to happen with microchips and everything else. So, all right. Well, that's a whole nother podcast, but I want to thank you for joining us. This was awesome.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you everyone for listening. Please get in touch with Charlie on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, go to LinkedIn, and G Squared Wireless. And that's spelled, it's G.
The letter G squared spelled out and then wireless spelled out.
G Squared Wireless. So I appreciate you joining us. I will be seeing you at quite a few Nashville Tech Council events.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
And I want to get myself and our company Next Level involved and heavily involved in a lot of teaching what we know to the community here in Nashville. Thank you for all your stuff. And everyone go check out Bolton's Hot Chicken. I will be there.
Absolutely. Well, wait. Pause. I may have just messed up. Oh, crap. When you put it like that, I messed up.
Because you don't want long lines.
Yeah, I want to be able to go in and eat.
All right. So everyone, they are only open on Tuesdays.
Yeah, so everybody communicate ahead of time and stagger when you go, so not everybody shows up.
Yes, if you struggle to find parking, skip it. Go somewhere else.
Absolutely, that's the best.
All right. Well, Charlie, thank you so much for joining us. This was a ton of fun. And for everyone else, like, subscribe, or do whatever you do with YouTube videos and podcasts. See y'all.
Next in.